Magandang hapon, mga panuhin. Ako nga pala si Don Crisostomo Ibarra Magsalin. Masaya akong makita kayo. At mas masaya ako dahil nakabalik na muli ako sa aking inang bayan matapos ang 7 taon kong pag-aaral sa Europa. Yes! Yes! Just kidding, folks. Welcome. I'm not really Don Crisostomo Ibarra Magsalin. I'm really Seth from the Seth Show, in case you haven't noticed. And this is an episode of my thoughts on the greatest piece of literature in Philippine history, in my opinion, Noli Me Tangere by our national hero, Jose Rizal. And I decided to get into this fancy attire to match Don Crisostomo's attire in the book. At least that's how people draw him. And it's very hot, so let's get this done. This book, I started reading this around mid-February, and it's early March. I just finished it because, quarantine, coronavirus, and there's nothing else to do, so I just finished this book. And it's so good. It's so good, especially this edition I got, the one translated by Harold Augenbraum, Penguin's Classics. Very good. I love it. And unlike most 9th graders, oh gosh, I actually read the whole thing, full from cover to cover, all 400 plus pages, 448 pages, and I absolutely loved it. So welcome, my thoughts on Noli Me Tangere. First impressions when I first started reading it, in the first few chapters, like most, if not all classics, very exposition-y. It gives you a lot of background information, which it's very expected in classics, but not in novels nowadays where it's supposed to hook you in. But here, Rizal does it in a very good way. Actually, he does it in a consistent way across the whole book, where you get to experience like what other people think of the main characters of Crisostomo Ibarra, of Padre Damaso, of Maria Clara, Kapitan Tiago, based on the point of views of other very minor characters. Like there'll be full chapters of just lesser important people, plot-wise, that we don't really know about, but there's just chapters of them talking about our main characters, which is really nice, a peasant's perspective on the dons and doñas. I absolutely love it. How would I rate this book? 1 to 10, I'd give it, for a classic, 10. 10 out of 10. And I posted it on Instagram and Facebook, actually, how I described this book, which I described it with 3 adjectives. That's heart-gripping, gut-wrenching, and bittersweet. It's not even bittersweet the more you think about it. At the end of the book, it's mainly bitter. There's no sweetness. It's all bitter, which is what I love about it. And it's super accurate. Super accurate. The novel that sparked the Philippine Revolution, it says in the back. And while I was reading this, I can now fully understand why the Spaniards wanted Rizal dead. Because with this 400-page piece of literature, he spoke to the Spaniards, to the Filipino people, and even to the world about the injustices, the corruption in the Philippines, and which kind of still is felt to this day. We're a sovereign nation right now. We're an independent nation, government-ish. But the themes of this book, the corruption that, as far as I know, and the injustices, not to a certain degree, it's still felt. And I don't know if Rizal predicted it or anything, but he did a fantastic job. The character of Don Crisostomo Ibarra, I love him. He's my favorite character in this book, which is why I chose to dress up as him. I mean, who else am I supposed to dress up as? Maria Clara? He's this ilustrado, went to Europe to get a higher education. After 7 years, he came back to marry his fiancée, Maria Clara, and the rest is history. I won't spoil anything from this book, except for the fact it's bitter in the end. You should read it. 9th graders, upcoming 9th graders, people who've passed the 9th grade, I highly suggest you to read this book. It's so good. Crisostomo Ibarra, review of him, he's amazing. Rizal made him this naive-ish character who came from Europe. He thinks the Philippines is so good, it's so perfect, there's not many problems, not much that needs fixing, and then he slowly begins to see how things are corrupt, how things are unjust, and then he tries to fix them, mainly with the help of Elias later on. It's a minor spoiler. It's not really a spoiler, right? Okay, Maria Clara, you know, a mestiza, young, I assume in her late teens or early 20s, same as Ibarra. Beautiful, as the book describes her to be, talented in the music and the arts, which is, I believe it's accurate in Spanish Manila in the late 19th century. Okay, other characters. Padre Damaso, Padre Salvi, Isabella. They are Catholic priests who are supposed to, I guess, represent Catholic priests during the time of Spanish Philippines. I don't know how accurate that is to the priests of the day, but as from what I've read in the many books that I've read in Philippine history, the friars of that day were very unlikable, and these guys were definitely unlikable. And I think that's what Rizal was aiming at, and he succeeded perfectly at that. Side characters, Sisa, Crispin, Basilio, Capitan Tiago, all very good side characters. They do their parts in expanding the plot and helping out the main characters. Very good. Generally, I'd give this book a 10 out of 10, 5 stars for a classic. And I loved it so much. It took me a month and a half after, well, there was like a 2 weeks break there. Generally, a month and a half to finish this whole book, which I enjoyed page to page. Critiques I have of this book, there are just some pages that are just full of descriptions of things, and it really reminds me of Tolkien, as if I've read Tolkien. Like, there's this page, you can see there's not many paragraphs, it's just one big paragraph describing something. You can see stuff like that again here. I don't really like that. It was a drag to read through some of those pages, but generally they do a good job at expanding the world that Rizal was trying to illustrate. It does a spectacular, fabulous, fantastic job at really immersing me as the reader into the world of Spanish Philippines in the late 19th century. It was fantastic. And the monologue you saw at the start, I got that in Google. That's the best Don Crisostomo Ibarra monologue I did. And in those 2 short sentences, it took me like 5 minutes to record, so don't expect monologues, Tagalog monologues from me, because Tagalog is really my forte. Anyway, I think that is all that we have to say for this, my thoughts on, since the quarantine is still happening, the coronavirus, I hope and pray that everyone watching, everyone who isn't watching, all your friends and relatives and loved ones will all be safe. Anyway, thank you for watching this video of this Seth show. I really appreciate it. Read this book. It's so good. Anyway, thank you for watching. See ya in the next one.